The one thing that I'm kind of curious about is this development of power and this development of strength is still so linear and bilateral. And like, I don't know how far to take the said principle when it comes to training locomotion. Because right now, my personal goals are something that I've never been able to do, which is distance run. I was very, very overweight as a kid, and the way that I got into fitness was powerlifting, and then I got into CrossFit. I did a little bit of Ido Portal method stuff and gymnastics and blah, blah, blah. Everything that I've always done has been linear and with very, very low efficiency in my gait cycle. So in terms of the actual said principle, when I'm doing strength training or I'm doing this flexibility work, I'm doing this stuff, it's like if I'm going all in on doing like a really high neural output activity like a Nordic, am I conditioning my body to optimize for this linear sagittal plane, frontal plane movement, doing exercises like that? Should I have more specific things that are training the rotary motion in addition to it? Like, is it basically, in terms of patterning, is it doing some harm, even if from like a power output perspective, is it doing me good?
Fantastic question. Fantastic question. First, I want to say that I would use that ab wheel that had like a wind up spring in it for my Nordics, right? Yeah. So I would be getting that, similar to holding onto a stick, which I've done as well, where, you're just getting the assist so that you can put the appropriate range of, well, you can get the maximum range of motion earlier than earning it through months of, not doing it, right? Now, very interesting question about this neural adaptation, principle of specificity. And I think, let me just say, principle of specificity, but when people would criticize the Bosu Ball and say, well, you don't play on an unstable surface, why on earth would you train on an unstable surface? They don't understand the principle of specificity, because the principle of specificity is the specificity toward the training effect that you're trying to elicit, not the activity itself. Because otherwise you wouldn't do anything in the gym, because it's not specific to, the thing itself, right? So if you want to rag on the Bosu Ball, well, start ragging on every other thing, because, the same rules apply. Now, how we address this sort of, we take movement training and we basically create this triangle, and we say, okay, we have coiling core training as defined by the singular side training. And I didn't go into the brachiation part, but if I reach up as high as I possibly can on this side, as if I were hanging from a branch where I want the least amount of muscular shortening possible so that it's all connective tissue, I get the most economy and efficiency. And I also happen to bring the hand over the opposite foot is going to get me higher than trying to do the same foot. And so I'm coming here like that. And what it does, the higher you go up with it, Anthony, the higher you go up, the easier it is to drop down into a coil. And I get this, what I call verticalization effect, that serves the fight and the flight. And so what we do is we define coiling core training that's unilateral, staying unilateral, optimizing your spinal engine coil spring to the maximum on each side separately. Then we have bilateral torsion training, which is basically defining this torsion and this sort of pronation, sort of what I call this sort of the cobra, where everything you're tucking under, you're coming here, and we call that internal torsion, bilateral. And then we have external torsion, which is the opposite, where we're coming here, and I call that raptor. So that now that's that lordotic, and we match spine and shin angle. And then we have what we call rotational movement training, which is the combination of all that stuff. So that's the activity. And Chris Chamberlain, right? He used to be Savage Protocols on Instagram. Now he's just, _ Christopher.Chamberlain _ And I highly recommend that you go check him out, because what he's done is he's helped me codify WEC method into a methodology with like specific objectives. And what he does to program, and what we do now based on his genius, is we define the ratios of coiling core training, bilateral torsion training, and then rotational movement training to create the greatest outcome from those individual parts. So there is a place for bilateral training. Okay, there's certainly a place for it, in my opinion. What you do with that how we define it is we define it down to, okay, which side are we on during which phase of the movement? So if we can understand how to use this internal torsion and external torsion, we can create even more powerful bilateral force, and then we can mix the torsion. So I can be long here and here, which would be coiling core, but then snap through on a rotational move that involved opposites of the bilateral. So this one will be internal, this one will be external, for example. So that's how we address it. Now, specifically to sort of the Nordic hamstring, would it create problems neurologically because you're doing it bilaterally? I think the answer to that would probably be no, in terms of, well, let's put it this way. I think you get far more benefit doing it than not doing it. And I don't think the risk is appreciable for the number of repetitions that you're going to be doing it, especially if it's concomitant to putting it into rotation. And the bilateral is really good for achieving maximum pressurization and maximum strength. So if you're we like the trap bar deadlift a lot. And now what we're doing is we're doing angled trap bar deadlifts where we're off the vertical, right? And so we're able to almost ski jumper, and Chris will lift 500 pounds in that forward inclination, and he will define whether or not he's emphasizing bilateral or internal or external torsion depending upon the depth that he's going to go and the positioning of the feet. Because we do it on this WEC deck, which is just like a giant soul steps. And it's a product that we're probably going to make. We're going to make it out of wood first, but it just takes the soul step. It gives you a lot of real estate. The soul step is just your footprint. So, we don't like to lift heavy on the soul step because, there's room for a little bit of a nudge and it can move. And then it's a big to-do. You might have to re-rack or whatever it is. But that would be my assessment, is that you're not going to really change a neural pattern from 4 sets of Nordics or 5 sets of Nordics doing even 10 reps. So you've done 50 repetitions. And also on the Bosu Ball with the Nordic, we get to squeeze the adductors. And squeezing the adductors allows us to get that combination of the adductor strength with the hamstring strength. And they work together. The adductors are the only group of muscle that flexes and extends the same joint. So you have biceps, which will do this and this, hamstrings, which will do this and this, but the adductors, they'll flex and they'll extend. And the reason why is because the femoral head and that acetabulum, the most efficient way is this figure 8. And it's a large group of muscles. So you're getting the flexion and the extension from the same muscle group. And the more fortified that is, the more pressure and buttressing that you have to the outside of the body. So center line is pivotal to understand. And then a stronger connection association to center line will buttress the periphery to have a more stable pressure at the center of it all. I said a lot. Hope it makes sense, and fire the questions.